Well, good morning everybody. I have the slot that is between you and coffee, so I'll go as quickly as I can. If there's anything that I cover that you'd like more detail on, then Octo has a stand in the exhibition hall, so do come and see us. The areas that I wanted to cover, and I wanted to think very hard about where the consumer is in this whole telematics debate. A lot of the events and conferences that I've attended have talked in great detail about black boxes, the technology therein, data, but the ability to really connect the technology and the offer with the consumer, I think, is where the greatest value is, both for the consumer and both for the insurer's business. I wanted to give you a bit of an overview around Octo, some of our credentials and our experience in the space. Data clearly is an area that I want to explore in a little detail, and something that I think is very important to unlocking the value for the consumer and insurers is how partnerships work across the technology provider, data analytics, and the end insurer. But I first wanted to start with a question to get us into the mindset of the consumer, which is, how does a business overtake the established market leader, become the benchmark for its sector, and go on to become one of the world's most valued and trusted brands in what is a very competitive market? Well, the answer, of course, is it gets to know more about its customers than its competitors. It turns that data into action in terms of pricing, in terms of positioning, and in terms of promotion. And for any of you who've read the dunnhumby fables or the great book called Scoring Points, will know that business was of course Tesco. But whilst, as many of us will know, big data can win wars and do wonderful things for us, how can it really improve the value proposition in the motor insurance market? But let me first talk a little bit about Octo, who we are and what we do. We're an international business, headquartered in London and Rome, founded in 2002, but recommencing commercial activity in 2005, and now with a global market footprint. We've got 1.6 million active contracts to date in our business, with all of the infrastructure that supports those 1.6 million customers and consumers. And interestingly, and I think what makes this a very dynamic market, is that is growing at an average of 2,200 new customers every day. We've developed telematics propositions across a number of market segments, working with a number of insurers, OEMs or car manufacturers, as you may call them, rental customers, and other emerging client sectors, such as some of the government and legislative bodies. But everything we do, we look back in on our business from the consumer standpoint, as we are, after all, both a technology company and a consumer marketing organisation. We've gathered huge statistical experience through our years of operation, based on the collection, processing and storing 121,000 kilometres per minute. Our operations centre has also managed over 421,000 accidents. And management of accidents is a theme that I want to come back to, because from my perspective, when I think about my wife and young son driving around in a car on a fairly regular basis, that's what's of great interest to me. I won't dwell on this slide in enormous detail, but it just gives you some idea of the order of magnitude and the scale of the Octo business, working across more than 50 insurers since 2004, working with OEMs and motor manufacturers, and beginning our work now since 2010 with car rental organisations. So this gives us an enormous amount of experience, an enormous amount of success, an enormous amount of areas and issues that we've had to think hard and address about as we've started to build our business. Market adoption, I think, is a very interesting area, and certainly from my global perspective, the nuances of each individual market, be they driven by political or legislative policy making, or by the needs of consumers, nuances of different distribution models, mean that we need to focus on each individual market, and we've laid down a footprint to make sure that we do that, not just in Europe, but in America and down into South Africa. So this, I think, is a very interesting area. I think, and I'm thinking back to what Mark was talking about in his address earlier on when he talked about the virtuous circle that telematics can make up, both in delivering value for consumers and value for insurers. And I think what we have here potentially is a win-win value case for both parties, or both key parties involved in this scenario, the insurer and the end consumer, and almost a mirroring of benefits across the claims management, repair management, and customer driving behaviour. If we get those right, there's great economic value for insurers to realise, but there's also a great service experience for consumers to experience, and for insurers to win that loyalty. I think, as we all know, if a customer has a very positive claim experience and is served at the time when they need help the most, the proxy that creates for loyalty and increased cross-sell opportunities is very significant. Additionally, on the revenue generation side, client segmentation, customer loyalty, and innovative and added value services improve the opportunity for higher touch and deepening relationships with consumers. And I think this also gets into a potential area where dynamic, more personalised insight and understanding of the customer allow not just the creation of segments of one for pricing, but also significantly enhanced customer service opportunities. How we do this, or the Octo model, we have a common infrastructure that we deliver our diversified services to diversified client segments, but always making sure that we're using the robustness of our delivery mechanism to make sure that we deliver for the specific requirements that each segment, whether that industry segment or consumer segment may have. But coming back to my theme, it's really not just about the box, and we could talk about the technical architecture of black boxes and still be here at 6 o'clock this evening. We think that the main area of value creation is very much in the understanding, the heavy lifting that goes on in terms of the data, and the analytics, to drive out real valuable, actionable insight, whether that is in the core car insurance or motor insurance proposition, as well as the added value services. And then I think, as some of the earlier speakers have said, it's very much about understanding what the specific strategy is and where that target market might be, whether it's the young driver, whether it's the family driver potentially looking for additional service from their product, or the older driver who wants to make sure that they're paying specifically what they should be paying and not subsidising another area of the market. A much more transparent approach to the product or the proposition distribution. But if that's not enough, if we don't fundamentally believe that we should be improving our products and propositions and attempting to offer better value to our consumers, then there are other forces that are driving us in this direction. Whether it be the gender directive, the equal treatment directive, consumer association pressure, TCF, whatever it may be, I think this is all driving us towards thinking about a renewed focus about what our product actually does and what it actually represents in a far more customer-centric way. We all know that price is a key driver, and we've seen how aggregators and price comparison sites have coached the consumer to think that price is the number one thing around a product that you just have to buy because it's the law. But coming back to what I was saying earlier, to some of the things that we value perhaps more deeply, whether it be accident, crash management, I think safety sells. And starting to use some of those aspects that telematics can deliver for crash management experiences starts to ask the consumer some other questions. Do you just want the cheapest price, or do you want a product that is really going to give you fantastic value at the time that you need it most? And the technology enables that to happen. But if you're still not convinced that it's now is the time to really think hard about reinventing the motor insurance proposition, well, I was out in Geneva on Thursday, and I was at the Geneva Motor Show, and I can tell you that these guys are coming. This is very much a reality. The connected car already has all of the technology that it needs within its infrastructure to start to deliver really big sways of insightful data to the motor manufacturers and partners that they may choose to work with. The whole ecosystem around the vehicle is being established, and all the brands that I spoke to have a position on where they believe they want to be. Some it's about embedding into the vehicle. Some it's very smartphone centric. But what's for sure is these guys are going to use this data to drive real value. And I can think back, 20, 25 years when I was involved in a leasing business, how meaningful finance and insurance income is to these guys. So I think on one side, fantastic opportunity for the insurance industry, but on the other, there is a deepening threat. As a marketing guy, I think this slide for me is a really important one, because you've got on those axes there how important is it to consumers, and the number of contacts that a consumer has with that product or proposition over the course of the year. And as we all know, we have this commoditization of product that we've seen over the years. And I think one of the things that telematics does potentially provides a platform for having a higher touch with the consumer for all sorts of added value services, different products, and different propositions. And I think it's quite interesting to think about how brands, services, product areas may move around on that chart over the coming years, given the prevalence and the adoption of insurance. So I think it's very interesting to think hard about in each individual business how that may provide the basis for a deepening relationship with the consumer, whether that's improved churn rates, improved cross-sale rates, or selling additional services that are of greater meaning to the consumer. And this is just a snapshot of what some of those things may be. I spent a number of years working in consumer electronics, where we thought very hard about, it's all very easy to sell a PC or a laptop, but we make real money and we drive real value for our organisation, hold on to our customers for longer if we're able to sell them other services. And this is just a snapshot of what some of those things may be that may appeal in different ways to different consumers. Speed limit, parental control, pollution emissions, traffic services, remote diagnostics, smartphone services. And going back to my earlier slide around the connected car, the question is who's going to control that ecosystem? What is the basis for doing that? Is it the connected car and the motor manufacturer, or is it the insurer and the relationship that you might have with your insurance company? So fundamentally, I think more data delivers more possibilities, and it allows the opportunity for that data to serve customers in a better way. Understanding that data, what it's telling, what it's driving in terms of propositions, in terms of price, in terms of promotions, is I think what starts to count. And it's whether you think that traditional risk pricing model with all the factors that it includes, and what a new possible pricing model may deliver is going to drive out real value. We know at the one end of the paradigm, it's the segment of one, it's the pay how you drive, but establishing a variety of propositions along that paradigm, I think, is going to be the very interesting and exciting area over the next 5 to 10 years. So in my view, the question isn't when, it's how you do it. You can continue to follow the business curve in a traditional way, and we'll see the chart that we looked at earlier on about underwriting performance. Nothing changes. Or you drive the innovation curve and leverage some of the opportunities that telematics actually delivers. And I kind of think back to the question that I posed at the beginning, which was, David Sainsbury sat in his office in the mid-90s, and he wondered what had happened. And he'd been the leading supermarket player for many years, but he'd been overtaken by Tesco's. And the reason he was overtaken by Tesco's is because somebody got to know the customers better than he did. Thank you very much.